player spawn areas. And if I go right in here to one of them, there we are. So these are set up with, as you can see, quite a lot of character. You can immediately tell what kind of environment this is. Now, the reason for that is because it's all about storytelling. So when we're building these environments, we want to, oh, this guy really likes gym stuff, and he's a bit messy. So here's his pants are here, and that kind of stuff. So what we'll do is we're essentially going to take this pod, and we're going to, well, sort of build it live, sort of. So if I just go right here outside, cool. So this is our little playground that we make these habs in. How it works is we essentially make one of these here, and they get imported into here as an object container, and then the lobby is built, and right up here is the strato frame that you guys saw in Lorville. So where does it all start? Well, it's all kind of starts with the idea that, oh, we want habs in Lorville. We're going to need habs in Area 18, Orison, you name it. So what are we going to need for these habs to work? So designers will probably come up with some ideas on what we need. Ooh, I didn't move. They'll build these out of designer solids. Now, designer solids are these very, very crude and basic geometry that you see here. So you can see this would essentially be one of the hab modules. So that would be like a kitchen or some sort of storage area. So they'll be thinking about that. What do we need? Do we need modules in here that are going to represent where you can make food? Are we going to need a place to store your guns, a place to store your clothes and that kind of stuff? So basically give us a metric to build the environment in. Then the environment artists are going to take that, and then we're going to start thinking about how we're going to break this up. Now, got a couple of concept pieces here. At the same time as environment art is thinking about how we're going to break this up, concept artists are building up this palette, this kind of, the theming, the ideas of what this place looks like. Now, we know that it's in Lorville, so it's a little bit more utilitarian, it's heavy duty, and you can tell here it's kind of like a place that's being fabricated to be a hab and put somewhere. So they'll be coming up with these kinds of ideas. So that's the lobby over there, that you guys saw. And what do those modules look like? What does a kitchen unit look like? So there's the microwave, there's your little fridge, that kind of stuff. So we're going to take this and we're going to start white boxing. Now, I'm sure you guys are fairly familiar with the white boxing, gray boxing process that we go through, because we always talk about that on ATV. And I'm fairly sure you've seen this, but here we have essentially what is the hab white box. Now, we've taken this and we've very, very crudely represented it with geometry. And you can see this is another layout with a bed all the way at the back. Hello. All right. So after we sort of start breaking that stuff up and the artists are taking everything from white box to gray box to final, we're starting to build the architecture of the space. Now, what does that look like? Essentially, everything that you see here is what makes up the habs. So you've got the modules right here. You've got the bed. You've got these frames, which kind of give it that container feel. You've got what we call essentially the wall pieces and the floor pieces, some ceiling pieces. These here are the props. I'll go through them in a little bit. And this is the facade outside of the hab pod. So these are very modular. Now, what do I mean by modularity? Essentially, we have to build things to be as reusable and customizable as possible. Now, these have to follow a very specific metric. So if you look here, this piece is about 1 meter in width, and this one is about 2 meters in width, these wall pieces. Now, they have to be built to a very specific metric of sort of like a 1 meter grid, so we can very easily snap them together. So I can show you guys what that looks like right here. And it should just snap right in there. Look at that. Easy. It's like Lego bricks. Now, the reason they need to be built to this specific metric, I'll use the Lego bricks as an analogy. You have your 4x2 block, and you have another 2x2 block. Now, if that 2x2 block was a little too tall, your Lego pieces wouldn't really snap together at all. So we need to make sure that everything is built to this metric. Now, we have our wall pieces, and these are some wall pieces, a little bit more flavor, so the kind of like wardrobe and shelf areas. These kind of add a little bit of infrastructure to the environment. So you got the nice pipes coming along, kind of like a boiler. You see some electrical stuff. So after these are kind of white boxed, we start putting them together in the room. Now, I pre-built one of these, so you guys can have a little look at what that stage looks like. Here we are. Now, this is very, very basic. There's nothing really in here. All you're seeing is walls, a couple of the wardrobes over here, and the bed. What happens next is we start blocking in some of the lighting. Now, the lighting is really going to establish the mood of the place. It's going to tell you what kind of place this is. Do I want it more of a dingy kind of place where it's, someone quite shady lives there, or really, really bright and warm, like a university kind of room. So I thought what would be really cool is if we take this room now, just this little corner over here and maybe over here, and we start bringing in some of those modules. So what happens next is if we go over here, let's say, you know what? Yeah, I really like cooking. So I'm going to take this kitchen module, and I'm going to go over here to our pre-built hab, and I'm going to swap this piece out for that module. Oop, my bad. There we go. So snap it in, right in here. Now you notice that the door is missing. The reason for that is because we have all of our animated elements need to be built separately. So if I just copy this right here, you can get a door in there in no time. Look at that. And now maybe I want I want like a little storage area right next to it, so I can have a little bit more surface to my kitchen to build to make our food with. So let's have a look. What do we have outside? So right here, this is one of the storage modules. So we can grab that guy and very, very quickly add him right back in there. Boom, there we go. Again, notice that the doors are missing. So if I copy it over and add a little door in there, and there we have it. Now, this, you can see how it starts to bring in the kind of elements that we'd like to see in a hab space or an apartment. Now, we could have this entire wall be just a bunch of these modules, or it could just be a flat wall. But I'd quite like to keep things a little bit cleaner. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start dressing this little area, and then I'm going to move on to here so you guys have some idea of what my little media thing that I'm going to do is going to look like. So props are essentially, well, they're really essential to really building the life and storytelling of the environment. So at this point, we're essentially requesting different kinds of props from the props team to really help out the kind of place that the hab needs to be. So what we're going to need hygienics. So here we have some toilet paper, toothbrush, some toothpaste, some very green toothpaste, little cleaning stuff, you name it, some stationery, a magazine, really fancy looking scissors. Here we are, this boy, the coffee machine. Now, you guys saw Chris make a live coffee on the stage. I love my coffee too. It keeps me going, so I'm going to pop it right in here. Now, when we're dressing these kinds of spaces, we need to think about who's touched this. So you wouldn't have a keyboard so perfectly set right here unless it's you have a very strong OCD or anything, a little bit, just to give it a little bit more character. Someone's touched this. Someone's moved this. So what else can we do? Got some more food items over here. Now, I've got some wine, some Big Bennies. Everybody loves some Big Bennies. So let's grab some of these guys, just like that, and this Big Bennies, and let's bring it right in here. Now, at the same time as this is happening, props and environment art are working their pieces towards final art. So as we're dressing this stuff, this is probably looking a lot more like a gray box area, but because all of this is done sort of in a live kind of environment, these will just get updated over time, and you don't have to go back and swap these assets out. So let's put these guys over here. You know what? Maybe this guy's a little bit sloppy. So he's going to go ahead and going to knock this guy over. And I'm just going to put him right up here. And he's never been picked up. It's just been there, left out. Oh, look, we have a nice little storage area over here. So let's bring these guys right in there. So these are the little things that are going to start really help sell the environment, make it quite believable. Because once you wake up in Lorville, you want to know that this is in Lorville. These are kind of things that someone that lives in Lorville would have out. So there we go, little nice kitchen area. So I thought it'd be cool. Maybe we can bring in a nice big TV over here and a couch. Now, I quite like to play games on my big TV, so I'm kind of mirroring this based on my apartment, but here we are. So I got that TV. I'm going to snap right in here. Going to move it in a little bit. There we go. Now, this guy really likes the adverts for the Genesis Starliner, so he has that on all the time. And that gives a nice blue sort of tinge to the environment over there with that light coming in. Now let's grab the couches. Now, modularity is very important for props as well. Just like the environments, everything needs to be built to a specific metric. If it's something like a mouse, it needs to be built to a metric that the hand can pick it up and inspect, that kind of stuff. Now with a couch, you can see it's built into 3 different pieces. Now if I snap these guys to the grid, like so, boop, and like that. The cool thing that I can do is I can make this couch just as big as I want it to be. So this. Now this is an interactable couch. So if I walk up to it as a player, I can just go in and sit down. So now we have a really nice big couch. Now I don't need to be that big. I'm going to delete this guy, bring it right in there, and let's bring it into our environment. There we go. And there we go. Now we have a nice little viewing area. What we could do here next is add a little table, like a coffee table kind of thing, and start adding those little elements that are really going to help sell this as a place that's being lived in. Now, I have an example of this here in the lobby. Storytelling is very key to any environment art. So as you can see, we've got the big TV here. Maybe they watch the football game over here, and they've been spending the night. So they got a couple of the covers, and it's gotten really cold, so they just left that out. Maybe they just ripped off some magazines, and they were just messing around, and they all went here. They were clearly playing some card games. Someone had their Big Bennies, some had a little beer, someone's been smoking. And you can see this is what really gives life to the environment. Here we have an area that's a little more like a trash sort of den where, you dump all of your unwanted equipment. This is kind of like a little community area. When I was building this, the first thing I built, I was like, you know what, we need a dumpster area. So I came in here and I was like, okay, this guy's left out his fridge, and someone didn't need this crate, so they put it there. And these are the little bits that are going to help you go, oh yeah, this is a place that's lived in. This is a place that I can see a person that works in Laurville living in. So if we go back in here, I prepared some of these 2 little dressing bits. So we have this here with a couple of gun racks. Now, the player might come back from their adventures and they're going to go, I really like this gun. It's in really good state, so I'm just going to store it in my room. And they've got some uniforms and backpacks over here. So if I bring them in, wrong one, over here. Nice. There we go. Now if I delete these, because these are built to a meter grid. So essentially this would have been a 2-meter wall, but we can swap this with any 1-meter grid module. So delete this, guys. There's a delete button, American keyboard. And I'll turn this guy around real quick. Oh. Doop, 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 doop. And there we are. So we have a slightly more dressed area right here. Pop him right in here. Bring him down a little bit. So this comes with a little bit of pre-built lighting, and just so I don't have to stay in here all the time, just putting those low lights, because it might be a little bit boring for you guys. But one thing that we can do now is, as this is all being built, we're thinking about materials. What kind of materials are used to make this hab? Is it kind of like hard plastics? Is it some very bare metals, that kind of stuff? So when we're setting these up, the other artists will be applying it to the environment, and as you can see, we have this kind of sort of very shiny plastic. And what we have is the ability to tint anything. So we have these 3 little key colors. So we have primary. Primary here in this case would be the white. Secondary, which is kind of this dark gray. And then tertiary. Now tertiary is a color that's usually a little bit different than the others, and it just helps sort of give a little bit of splash of color to the environment. Now what I thought would be cool is if I let you guys pick what color we can put in here. So I've got 2 colors in mind. I've got pink and orange. So I want you guys to lift your hands up for orange. Okay, now pink. I think orange won, guys, I'm sorry. I can give you a taste of what pink might look like, right? I think my art director wants pink.
I want pink.
Yeah, he wants pink. So you can see the pinks right in here. And I will swap to orange because, you know, you guys picked orange. And there we go. So we can get a little bit more of an orange going on. And that's, if you remember, more in line with that concept I showed you guys earlier. Now, you'll notice that everything's a little bit got of a green tinge going on. So the reason for that is because when we do the lighting, if we do the lighting with the green materials applied, we just rebake it. And as you can see, now it's all orange and a little bit more warmer. So hopefully soon we'll have some really nice reflections going on. Now, there's a lot of infrastructure that I'm missing, a lot of kind of the little set pieces that I'm missing. So what I'll do, since we don't have all day to build this environment with, is I'll just go over here to one of our pre-built ones. Now, this is the CitizenCon hab, the ones that you guys saw. Now, I'm super happy with how this turned out. The team did a fantastic job. And as you can see, there's just so much character to this. You can see, like, this light's flickering, so it hasn't been taken care of. This guy has headaches, so there they are. But he also has a whiskey right next to it. That's a bit dangerous, but, you know, living on the edge. Yeah, that's self-medication. That's right. Another part that I really like from the Habs, so this, again, everything has to be built very modularly. So it has to fit within a bounding box that's been set before we started the environment. Now, this was actually made by props, but this is the toilet. The cool thing about this place, see if we can quickly jump in game to show you guys. Give it a second. Come on. There we are. The cool thing about the toilet is I can go in here. Look at that. Huh? How about that? Got our little tap. Got a little storage area over here. And the shower. Yeah? Well, you know, if you've ever lived in a very cramped... if I back out into the editor. There we are. So, what is the next stage? What happens after we've done some dressing? Now, this is a very iterative thing. So as we're building these, we're going back and going, you know what? Maybe this wall needs to change. Or maybe we need to add the amount of walls that we're going to put here. Or maybe the bed's going to be different. We don't like this bed. It's not working out. Let's change it. There's a lot of iteration that goes on when we're building these environments. So it's the kind of stuff that you have to kind of account for. And one of the things that happens next, after we've done the dressing, is we hand it back off to lighting and VFX. Now, VFX is going to come in and add these really nice sort of, you know, things that add movement and life to the environment. So you've got all this steam coming off. And if I put physics on, which I can't do right now because the editor will crash, these fans will be moving, and you're going to have all kinds of like dust particles and things coming in. And then lighting will get a hand of this, and lighting's job is to really, really compose the scene. So you can see here, after we've done that blockout lighting, they're going to come in and, you know what, look, we're going to add a little bit of a warmer tone up there so you can see that it's a kind of infrastructure going on, or a nice spotlight onto the bed so that you know that this is the bed, this is where I'm going to go as a player. Or some key lights over here to really help sell the kind of surface that we have. I don't know who would like to wake up to some lights over there, but, you know. And yeah, so lighting will come in and really try to finish off that final frame, really help sell the shapes of the models that we've made and the materials that we've created. Now, that's kind of a very, very brief and quick version of how these environments are built. Obviously, it's not that simple and not that quick, but hopefully it gives you guys a little insight